1:15, this is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. News edited by Danishka Madabala and read by Niranjan Abesundara. The Central Bank Governor says the proposed State Financial Management Act will help stabilize the financial policies in the country. The Cabinet paper on the plantation enterprise reforms will be presented to the Cabinet on the 1st of January. Sri Lanka pilgrim season starts tomorrow. All Ireland Egg Trade Association says it is unable to provide eggs to the local consumers for a reasonable price due to the unavailability of a proper mechanism. Tighten security to churches across the country. Israel to step up recruitment of Sri Lankan workers. In world news, Israel Gaza war, Hamas says 70 killed in an Israeli airstrike on camp. Sports news, Sir Jim Ratcliffe agrees deal to buy 25% of Manchester United stake. The Governor of Central Bank, Nandalal Veerasinghe, says that the proposed State Financial Management Act will help stabilize the state financial policies in the country. The Finance Minister is now drafting the Act. The Governor expressed hope that the new Act will lead to strong laws and institutions. He added, the new Act will strengthen the Central Bank as well. Meanwhile, central banks say the manufacturing PMI increased to 57.0 on a month-on-month basis in November 2023, driven by the seasonal factors. The index exceeded the neutral threshold after March 2023, with positive contribution from all sub-indices. The increases in new orders were largely driven by the manufacture of food and beverages and textiles and apparel sectors. Moreover, the increase in production was largely due to manufacture of food and beverage sectors owing to the seasonal demand. Further employment and stock of purchases also increased on a month-on-month basis in line with the improvements in new orders and production. Moreover, supply delivery time lengthened during November compared to the previous month, indicating the tightened supply conditions. State Minister of Finance Raisi Abetapete says that the Cabinet paper on the plantation enterprise reforms will be presented to the Cabinet on the 1st of January next year. The Minister made their comments while joining an inspection tour in Waterville Plantation yesterday. The Minister said around 30% of lands in the country are being utilized for cultivation of commercial crops. 1/3 of those lands are owned by the government. The Minister said the considerable portion of government-owned lands have been leased to regional plantation companies to harvest. The Minister said that an institution will be set up to monitor whether those lands are being utilized accordingly. The Sri Lanka pilgrim season 2023-2024 will commence tomorrow on Uluwa Full Moon Poya Day. The caskets of the sacred relics and the statues of God and regalia is being taken in a 3 procession from Galpotawada Sri Lanka Rajamavihara in Palmadula. Chief Incumbent of Siddhaspana, Venerable Bengambe Dhammadinathera, said that the processions are scheduled to proceed through Ratnapura, Padamatgala and Eratna route, Ratnapura, Abhisabela and Hatton route, and Barangala Bogwantalava route. 3 processions are scheduled to reach Sri Pada Upper Compound this evening, and the pilgrim season would commence after performing the traditional rituals. The Sri Lanka Police announced that special police security was provided to churches and other religious places of worship today in view of Christmas. Police media spokesman Mr. Sinhala said priests can contact police headquarters on 0112 472757 for any assistance on security matters. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The Secretary of the All Ireland Egg Trade Association, Anur Sirikumar said, unable to provide eggs to the local consumers for a reasonable price due to the unavailability of a proper mechanism. He said the production cost of an egg is 20 rupees and it's possible to sell it in the market around 35 rupees. But due to the mafia of a few people in the consumer trade, they are facing severe hardships at present. Israel has turned to India and Sri Lanka to urgently fill around 30,000 vacancies in its construction industry after the country deported thousands of Palestinian workers following the October 7th Hamas attack. Israel Builders Association said its representatives will be in India and Sri Lanka next week to screen applicants for various roles such as plastering, ceramic tiling, building work and iron bending. This is in addition to the agreement Sri Lanka signed with Israel last month to allow the immediate hiring of 10,000 farm workers. The building industry, one of the country's biggest economic sectors with a market size valued at $71 billion in 2022, has been operating in just 15% of its pre-war capacity. Around 82,000 Palestinians worked in the country's construction industry prior to the assault, according to a third of the sector's workforce. That was local news.
The main news story is brought to you by Sinhala Mahatma.
The Minister of Labour and Foreign Employment, Sinhala, highlighted that a significant improvement in the country's foreign reserves under President Vikramasinghe's leadership. According to Minister Sinhala, the foreign reserves were depleted when the current government took office, but it successfully rebounded, reaching a noteworthy $3.6 billion. The minister was speaking at the Collective Path to a Stable Country media briefing at the Residential Media Centre. Minister Sinhala said even the opposition cannot escape criticism as they have protested against decisions aimed at national development, dismissing them as mere populism. It is essential to acknowledge that such actions contribute to the country's economic downfall.
The main news story was brought to you by Sinhala Mahatma.
This is Watchlight.
The National Dengue Control Program Director Dr. Sudat Samaraveda said the Western Province has been identified as the dengue high-risk area and 46% of the country's total dengue cases are reported from this province. He said President Secretary Samane Kanak has also issued a circular to all heads of institutions, including measures to be taken to prevent this situation from becoming an epidemic in the Western Province. That came to you in Watchlight.
Coming up, World News.
Hamas says 70 killed in Israeli airstrike on camp. Anti-government demonstrators in Serbia tried to storm Belgrade City Hall. New York Times says Putin interested in ceasefire talks. Gaza's Hamas-run health ministries say that Israeli airstrike killed at least 70 people in the Al-Maghazi refugee camp in the center of the Strip. A spokesman said the death toll was likely to rise given the large number of families living in the area. Israeli military told the BBC it was looking into reports of the strike. Israeli and Arab media say Egypt, which borders the Gaza Strip, has put forward a new proposal for a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. Dozens of injured people were rushed from Maghazi to nearby Al-Aqsa hospital, with footage showing some children's faces covered in blood and body bags piled outside. Health ministers say 3 houses were hit in the attack late on Sunday. According to the ministry spokesman Ashraf Al-Qudra, a densely populated resident block was destroyed. Police in Serbia's capital Belgrade have used tear gas to disperse crowds protesting at alleged fraud in last week's general election. They intervened after some of the crowd outside the city hall smashed windows and attempted to force their way in. Opposition activists say police used excessive force on Sunday. They say the government manipulated the elections won by the ruling party. President Alexander Vučić says the allegations are rubbish and lies. The Green Left Front co-leader Radomir Lazovic said officers beat him and a number of other people with truncheons. There have been peaceful protests every evening since last week's national and local elections. Sundays were the first to turn violent. The New York Times on Saturday quoted former senior Russian officials and U.S. and other sources as saying Russian President Vladimir Putin has been signaling through intermediaries since last September that he is open to a ceasefire in Ukraine. The paper says Putin's intention was conveyed to the United States through multiple routes, including governments that have relationships with both the United States and Russia. Putin reportedly proposed to recognize Ukraine's sovereignty with Kyiv as the capital, while Russia keeps nearly the 20% of Ukrainian territory that is currently under its control. However, Ukrainian President Zelensky has pledged to retake all the country's territory. The article also quotes U.S. government sources as saying this could be familiar Kremlin attempt to misdirection and does not reflect genuine willingness by Putin to compromise. Back to the headlines of the world news. Hamas says 70 killed in Israeli airstrike on camp. Anti-government demonstrators in Serbia try to storm Belgrade City Hall. New York Times says Putin interested in ceasefire talks. That was World News.
Development News.
Latest statistics released by the Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority shows that Sri Lanka received over 1.4 million tourists by the end of third week of December. SLTDA weekly report on tourist arrival released on Saturday shows that 1,449,000 tourists arrived by December 21st, 2023. According to the report, 128,047 tourists arrived in Sri Lanka between 1st December and December 21st. In 2022, Sri Lanka received 19,978 tourists for the whole year. SLTA data showed India, Russia, Britain, Germany, Australia and China are among the top source markets in December. We now move on to sports news.
Moving on with sports news.
British billionaire Sir Jim Ratcliffe has agreed to buy 25% stake in Manchester United for about $1.3 billion. Ratcliffe's Ineos Group will take control of football operations. Senegal will also provide $300 for future investment into the club's Old Trafford Stadium. Announcement comes 13 months after the club's owners, the Glazer family, stated they were considering selling to explore strategic alternatives. American family bought the club for £90 million in 2005. The only other publicly declared bidder, Qatari banker Sheikh Jassim bin Ahmed Al Thani, withdrew his offer to buy 100% of the club in October. United have struggled on the pitch this season and have not won the Premier League since 2013, while there have been regular protests against the Gaza Glazer ownership. That was sports news.
May this Christmas bring happiness, love, peace and success to you and your family. Merry Christmas. National Savings Bank.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Sri Lanka took part in the Vietnam Expo 2023 in Ho Chi Minh City, fostering new opportunities for bilateral collaboration and developing exports to East Asian markets. Expo Development Board, in collaboration with Sri Lanka Embassy in Vietnam, organized the participation of Sri Lankan exporters at the 25th edition of the Vietnam Expo from December 7th to the 9th at the Saigon Exhibition and Convention Center in Ho Chi Minh City. That was Business News.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
May this Christmas bring happiness, love, peace and success to you and your family. Merry Christmas. National Savings Bank.
And now in economic news.
Japanese shipping firms are changing the routes of their ships to avoid the Red Sea, where Yemen's anti-government Houthi group have been attacking passing vessels. Nippon is saying a Japanese firm known as the Tenwaiki Line and Mitsui Osuka Lines have temporarily altered the course of their vessels refined to and from Europe to avoid the Red Sea, citing the possibility that those with links to Israel may be targeted by the Houthis. They are sending oil vessels around the Cape of Good Hope in South Africa. The Red Sea is the shortest curved waterway to connect Asia and Europe via the Suez Canal. Concerns rising that the rerouting of commercial vessels may result in delayed cargo shipments and high transportation costs.
Weather report.
Met Department says several spells of light showers will occur in the northern, eastern and Nuba provinces, and a few showers will occur in the north-central province. Short thundershowers may occur at a few places in the western Sabah province and the Gordon Martha district after 2 p.m. Very strong winds, about 30-40 kilometers per hour, can be expected at times in the eastern slopes of the central hills and in north-central province. Misty conditions can be expected in some places in Sabaragamuwa, central and western provinces, and the Gordon and Martha districts during the morning tomorrow. Back to the headlines of the news. Central Bank governors say that the proposed State Financial Management Act will help stabilize the financial policies in the country. Cabinet paper on plantation enterprise reforms will be presented to the Cabinet on the 1st of January. Sripada pilgrim season starts tomorrow. All Island Egg Trade Association says unable to provide eggs to local consumers for a reasonable price due to the unavailability of a proper mechanism. Tighten security to churches across the country. Israel to step up recruitment of Sri Lankan workers. In world news, Israel-Gaza war, Hamas says 70 killed in Israeli airstrike on camp. Sports news, Sir Jim Ratcliffe agrees to a deal to buy 25% of Manchester United's stake. With that, we end the afternoon news from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Time moves on to 1:31, and at 2 p.m, let's enjoy music with lunch.